So you want to know about what happens to a boy's body during puberty. As we've talked about before when we talked about what puberty is, a boy's body will have a pituitary gland, which is the pea-sized gland in your brain that sends out hormones that go all around your body and tell it to grow. And your body's growing into the adult version of itself. So when a boy goes through puberty, a boy's body is going to change in a lot of different ways. They're going to grow taller, but at different rates. And this is really important to remember because I know a lot of boys can compare how tall they are to one another. Every body is so different. So your genes have a lot to do with how tall you get. But boys will start to grow taller during puberty. And this usually happens around age 10 for most boys, or between 10 to even 15. But that's not a rule. Some boys can start earlier, some can start later. There are a lot of boys that are still growing into their early 20s. So some guys will grow in college like 2 or 3 inches. So it's really hard to compare yourself to other people. Everybody is unique and our growth patterns are unique. But everybody's going to go through puberty. So every boy is going to go through puberty. And one of the first things you'll probably note with your friends or with your brothers or boys in your life is that their voice is going to start to change. And when a boy's voice starts to change, hormones are trying to tell this voice to get deeper and sound more like a man's voice. But sometimes that transition isn't always that smooth. And sometimes a boy's voice will squeak, or it'll be like really high and then it'll drop really low. And sometimes boys feel embarrassed about that. And it's really kind to just remember that all guys have to go through it. And if you're a girl, just remember you're going to be changing in different ways. So a kind thing to do is have the awareness that this person is growing and they cannot help what their voice sounds like right now. So it would be nice if we could give each other space to grow and let our voices change. Some boys will wake up one morning and just have a deep man voice. Some, it takes a little bit of time. But as your voice changes, your Adam's apple will start to protrude and you'll be able to see it. So if you look at your dad or your grandpa or a man in your life, a caregiver in your life, you're going to notice that they have that lump in their throat, and that's called an Adam's apple. And that is an indicator that your voice is dropping. It's getting deeper and you're turning into a man. Another thing that's going to change is you're going to start to grow body hair. And we call body hair pubic hair. And you're going to grow hair in your armpits, and you're going to grow hair around your genitals, which would be like around your penis and your testicles, which you guys probably just call balls. So you're going to start growing hair in those places. And some boys will even grow hair, they call it like a happy trail. Like it's a little bit of hair that goes up the lower part of your belly to your belly button. And that's all totally normal. Everyone grows hair. The thing about hair in boys is a lot of boys continue to grow body hair throughout their life. So as you get older, your chest might start to get hair on it, your back. That's a thing that keeps happening for boys and men. So you're going to start to grow body hair. And with all this new hair also comes a new thing that happens, which is sweat, which I'm sure you've sweated before, but this sweat's going to be different. This sweat is stinky sweat. So you're going to start to smell. So when you play really hard, you might notice that your armpits smell bad, or your feet smell horrible when you take your tennis shoes off. This is a completely normal part of puberty, and this is something that's probably going to stick with you a lot of your life. So this is a good time to talk to your parents about changing up your hygiene, which is how you clean your body. You might have to bathe more than you're used to doing. You might have to shampoo more because your skin will get more oily, and that's totally normal. You might develop acne, and that's pimples on your face or your back. And that's something that you can adjust your cleaning habits, drink a lot of water, adjust how you eat. Eating's important. You're going to be growing really fast. So you're going to have these periods of time where you're really, really hungry. So it's important to stay fed and eat nutritious food. Also, you could even get really, really tired when you go through puberty, and you might start noticing that you want to sleep in on the weekends instead of get up early and watch TV or play, and that's normal too. You're not sick, you're just growing. So you're going to grow taller. Sometimes your joints will ache because you're growing so fast. Sometimes it's slower and it won't feel that way at all. But you're also going to grow hair on your face, and you probably have noted this. Usually it starts right here, and you start to get the mustache, and then it'll grow into the beard. And depending on your family or your religious background or your culture, some boys want to shave, some boys don't. And that's something too to talk to your parents about. What are their expectations about your facial hair? How do you want to take care of your facial hair? But that will start to come in. And again, that's different for all boys. Like, not all boys grow the same amount of facial hair. So it's hard to compare yourself to others. And I would encourage you not to do that because you're unique. You're you, and you're growing at a rate that you're growing. Another thing that happens when a boy goes through puberty is you're going to notice that your penis is growing. And new things are happening down there. You're going to start to have erections, and you probably already had them way before this point. And an erection is when your penis gets hard and starts to stick up, and that's because a bunch of blood has rushed to it and has enabled it to stand up. And you probably call this a boner or a chubby, but this is called an erection. And when you have an erection, that is a sign that your body's starting to turn into a man body. And that also means that pretty soon your sperm is going to start to mature. And your testicles, which you probably call your balls, are holding sperm inside them. It held semen and sperm is the male sex cell. And this is the thing that could make a girl pregnant. Like, this is the most important cell that we're talking about in puberty. And when your sperm matures, when you go to sleep at night, and this is totally not something you can control and not something you could even think about and control, you'll start to notice that every now and then you'll wake up and it'll feel like you maybe wet the bed, or like your underwear is wet, or your sheets are a little bit wet. You didn't wet the bed. You probably had a wet dream. And this is called a nocturnal emission. And you probably remember this word from science. Nocturnal means nighttime. So this usually happens when you're sleeping. So when you have a nocturnal emission, you've had an erection, and while you're sleeping, your penis has ejaculated, which means like shoots out some semen. And in the semen is sperm. And this is your body's way of preparing you to be able to mate, to be able to father a child someday. And it's making sure that your sex organs are working. Because you got to remember, the whole point of puberty is for you to become a sexually mature male, a sexually mature man. So wet dreams are something that happen to all men. All boys go through it, and all women know about it. So don't worry. You can talk to your parents about it. You can let your mom know. She totally understands. This doesn't have to be weird. It's a completely normal thing. And we all understand that you cannot control that. Something else that might happen as you go through puberty, when you see something or someone that you like, that you feel attracted to, or something kind of interesting happens that feels like new, like arousing, you could also have an erection that you didn't mean to have, which is like a boner that happened in the middle of class. And that's usually beyond your control, and that's also totally normal. And while I know it seems inconvenient and not exactly what you want to happen, it's totally normal. And girls, if you're watching this, it's really kind to not make fun of people that this happens to, because it's involuntary. They can't help it. These are things that are happening in your body that are important, that are a part of the journey, and you just have to remember everybody's going through it together, and every adult has gone through it already. So you're not alone, and this is how your body's going to transition and change. As we talked about in the last video, you probably noticed some changes in relationships, that you might be attracted to people that you want to maybe date, or you think of them more romantically, or you might start feeling pushback with your parents, or your siblings might feel really annoying right now. Things that you hadn't experienced before are starting to happen in this time because you're changing, you're growing, the way you think is changing, and you probably want more social time with your friends, and that might be more important to you than family time. And that will probably be new for you and your family. So continue to talk to your family about how you're feeling and how you're changing is a great way to keep them on board with how you're growing and how they can support you and understand you as you go through this journey. And it will remind them of how they felt when they went through it. So this is how your body's going to change if you're a boy during puberty. And I hope you'll ask your parents what they remember about going through puberty as a boy, or if they ever had a wet dream, or what did they wish that someone had told them about puberty as a boy. those would be good conversation starters to just get your parents remembering what it was like